Hi, welcome back to In Your Defense. I'm attorney Steve Toland. I've got a movie line for you. Go ahead, make my day. Chances are, no matter your age, that you recognize that iconic movie line as the one uttered by Detective Harry Callahan, Dirty Harry, and the Dirty Harry movies. What you may not know is that line is so iconic that it touched off an entire area of self-defense law across the United States, starting in the mid-'80s with the state of Colorado, regarding this issue of standing your ground when you try and defend yourself. So today we're going to continue our discussion about defenses and move on to defense of self. So let's talk about Texas and self-defense. First, you need to remember that Texas is a stand your ground state. So they don't have one of those make my day statutes like a lot of states do, because it was already kind of assumed in Texas and has been the law for a long time that to defend yourself, you can just stay where you are. You can stand your ground as long as you're not the primary aggressor. So knowing that you're in a stand your ground state here in Texas, let's talk about the 4 rules you would need to follow to be justified in using force against someone else if you're defending yourself. Okay? First and foremost, the number 1 rule is that you have to be reasonable in your belief that it's immediately necessary to exact force upon another person. So if a 5-year-old boy is running after me with a toy truck, that's not really reasonable that I need to do something by using force against him. Likewise, if an adult who I'm a little bit nervous of says, "Hey, I'll see you next week at that shareholders meeting and I'm going to get you then," well, then it's not immediately necessary. So the first rule is you have to be reasonable in your belief, and it has to be reasonably necessary. The second rule, and this one's a little bit trickier, is that you're only allowed to use the reasonable amount of force that's necessary to stop whatever that person's doing to you. You have to proportionally balance your response. And this is where it gets a little tricky. There's some easy examples. If somebody pushes you, you can certainly push them back. If somebody exhibits a deadly weapon, then you can exhibit a deadly weapon back to defend yourself. Where people can get in trouble, of course, is when somebody maybe pushes them with their hands and then somebody responds with a deadly weapon. That's not necessarily a proportionate response. So that's the second rule. The third rule you have to remember is that you have to be in a lawful position. So you can't be breaking the law when you try and then justify your use of force on somebody else with the defense of self-defense. So if I'm robbing a bank, for example, I can't, when someone's trying to hold me down, push them out of the way and then claim self-defense, quite obviously. You can't be trespassing, things like that. And then the fourth thing you need to remember is you can't be the instigator. You can't have started the disagreement or started the use of force back. So think about Vince Vaughn in the great movie Anchorman, when there's the big fight amongst all the different San Diego anchors, and Vince Vaughn pulls out the knife first on Will Ferrell. Well, Vince Vaughn unfortunately can't avail himself of the defense of self-defense in that example. So there you have it. Those are the 4 rules you need to follow to be justified in your use of force to defend yourself. That's it for today on that issue, but we're going to come back and continue our discussion on defenses, particularly the use of force, deadly force, and the castle doctrine and defense of third parties. So if you have any questions about these issues, I really encourage you to reach out to me, attorney Steve Toland, or to us at Peek & Toland. We'll be glad to help you. Thank you.